From the inner sense of time comes the ancient poet's rhyme, bringing us the master key to open up the mystery. From the depth of time and space, we arrive in quiet grace, finding what is meant to be as we explore the mystery, pouring forth from days gone by. We can hear the poet sigh from the depth of ecstasy, moving into mystery. Hello, and welcome again to Creative Connections. I'm your host, Gary Blanchard, and tonight my guest is a gourd carver, Ceil Rossi. Ceil, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for all the gorgeous gourds. So, how did you come to find gourds as a creative outlet?
About 20 years ago, I went to a gourd festival in Fallbrook, California. And I saw all of these raw gourds in big cages drying in the field. And they were fascinating. They were just raw, like this. All kinds, all shapes. So I thought, I was kind of creative in my former life before gourds. So I thought, I'm going to buy a few of these, take them home, and play with them. So I invited a bunch of my girlfriends over, and we sat in my garage, and we put feathers and material and beads, and we carved them. Oh, God, and we thought, this is beautiful. They were horrible. They were just horrible. So in Arizona, gourds are big. They are the art. So I found myself a couple of good gourd teachers and took some lessons, and this is the result.
And it's really amazing work. And I want to look at some of these a little more closely in a minute. But you brought some of the tools that you use.
Yes. Say a gourd like the cutout, I would have to open that gourd up and dig all of the seeds out because they're part of the pumpkin family, and they inside looks just like a pumpkin.
Okay.
So all of it has to come out, because if you didn't, you couldn't, except something like this. If you're going to use something like this, the seeds are still in there. This will never rot. It's in this form. It'll be in this form until I pass away. And to get into them, I put a ball with, inside of this is, they tell me it's a golf ball, and they coat it with sand, and I put it on a drill, and I drill all of the pulp out of there.
Okay.
To get it, and then if I don't get it all out, I have to scrape it out. Like that big one, that was a monster to clean.
I would imagine. And, it's a fairly large opening at the top. Mm-hmm. But for somebody with bigger hands and wrists and arms, mm-hmm. like me, I could see it would be a bit of a challenge.
It would be, but then again, you have this tool. But you could get in there with your hands and scrape it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you look at a gourd, how do you decide what you're going to create with it?
We have a term in gourd language. It said the gourd has to speak to you. So when I look at a gourd like this, I know that I can put a long something on it. I can do an abstract on it if I wanted, like lines and lines. But this guy spoke to me. He's called the Night Watcher. I have done many of these Night Watchers, sold them all. Everybody loves him.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at his face, we'll turn the camera there in a minute. When you look at his face, I mean, he's just looking at you, mm-hmm. and his wisdom is just showing. So you aren't afraid to kind of repeat motifs.
Oh no, I love it because once I do one, I improve as I go along on them.
Okay.
This is all wood burned. I have a wood burner. It's not just your typical wood burner, straight wood burner like you used when you were in school.
Right.
This is a controlled box with controlled heat, so I can turn it up and down depending on how deep I want to go with this.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yep. And then I paint with acrylic paint around the eyes and the feathers.
Okay, and then does it have like a coating on top?
A polyurethane. I color everything with polyurethane to preserve, the finish.
Right. So, and you say a gourd like this will last forever?
Forever. Yep, forever. Yep.
That's really wonderful. So, you say in Arizona this is a big thing. What has it been like importing that to the East Coast?
They ship them in to me. They ship me the gourds in big boxes.
People responding to the gourds.
They love them. Oh my goodness, yes. I teach as well.
Okay.
The smaller gourds I teach. I couldn't teach anybody something like that. It'd be forever. But I teach at my home. I have a studio at my home, and I teach there. I also go places like Art Center East in Vernon, Connecticut, East Windsor, Hartford. Before the pandemic, I taught a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you brought another little thing that was a coffee.
Oh, this is called a mate cup. And in Bolivia, Paraguay, Argentina, these little things are like their Starbucks. They walk around with a hot water bottle, and they have the crushed leaves of a holly berry tree. They take the crushed leaves and they pour them gently in this side of the cup, and then they pour the hot water in, and then throughout the day they sip it with this little stainless steel straw that has little holes in the bottom so it doesn't pick up the remnants of the holly. And they just walk around and sip it all day. When it gets cold, they take their hot water bottle and they put some more water in it.
That is really amazing.
They say the holly berry leaves are like medicine. They have caffeine in them. It's like a cup of tea, I guess.
Okay.
You can use honey in here. But the problem with that is, this is a living thing. Gourds are a living thing. Even though it's all cleaned out, it will rot if it gets wet inside.
Okay.
And it will mold.
Ah.
So I don't know how many of these little beautiful cups that they go through, but I'm not sure that I would want to drink my coffee out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing, to realize how different cultures have approached things.
Right.
But just the design on that.
It's beautiful. It's gorgeous, yeah.
Is that one you made, or did
No,
you?
I didn't make this. This is a stainless steel rim. I bought this off of Amazon because I wanted to show. Gourds have been around civilization for over 10,000 years. They're finding them in caves in Peru, all over the place. They say that they have two theories of how gourds got to our continent. Either it started in Africa, bounced along the waves, and landed on the shores of Florida and that part of the East Coast, Atlantic, or they came from Asia, and they came across where the Bering Sea is, and they came down that way. But people in Alaska, they found, couldn't grow them because it was too cold. So the only place to grow them is in the south, where it's dry: Arizona, Mexico, New Mexico, California. That's why we have the gourds that we have, these sizes, there. And we can buy them here. I would not use an East Coast gourd for my artwork.
Okay.
They're too thin. If you look at that inside of those gourds, how thick they are, they're more than an inch thick, which makes them very resilient.
Okay. So, and I had no clue that, there was that much difference between. So I couldn't go to the local farmer's market and buy a gourd.
Sure, if you wanted to, you could buy a whole bunch of them and spray paint them and put them in a pretty basket for the Halloween time,
But
they would mush up.
Something like this. Okay,
You can't, yeah. This is a warty gourd. It will always be a warty gourd because the seeds in this gourd will always make a warty gourd.
Okay.
So you can see it right here. That's the beginning of a gourd, and you can see the skin down here. But somehow this thing just became a warty gourd. I have friends in Arizona who take this little guy and they put a little head on him and a little tail and they put legs on him and they paint him white. And guess what he is?
What?
He's a little sheep.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really do that kind of art. I
Yeah.
like more of this.
Yeah.
This is a gourd. This is a loofah.
Okay.
It's another kind of gourds. I took all the skin off of this. It had really crusty, ugly looking skin. So what you do, you soak it in water, and then the skin gets wet, and you pull all the skin off, and you have a loofah. Now, what do you do with loofahs?
You use them for bathing.
There you go. You cut little hunks out of here, and you can go to Bed Bath & Beyond, and you can get a hunk of it for like $10. This thing probably cost me $1.50.
Really?
If that, yeah. And look at all the little, gourds you can get out of it. Cleaning implements. I take a little piece and I make soap. And I take a little piece of this and I put it in the soap. And then when it's hardened, I wrap it up and I sell it
Okay.
for the bath.
That's wonderful.
And this gourd is the same as that gourd.
Same as
That
this one?
big one.
Oh, this one here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Except the seeds in this gourd will always make this
Yeah.
gourd, that size.
Yeah. So these are the same.
Yep. Yep.
This one just didn't get to grow up to be.
It won't grow any bigger.
Oh, really?
No, the seeds in that gourd will always make that size gourd.
Huh.
The seeds in that gourd will always make that size gourd.
Okay.
Yep.
That's really interesting. Now you have one of your creations here.
This is a small gourd. I call this dancing ducks. I filled it with plaster of Paris. I put in the succulents. They don't come out. And I just thought, these days succulents are in. If you go in Home Depot or Lowe's, you'll see all these beautiful little succulents. So I thought, well, I'm going to make a little succulent pot.
Okay.
Because it's in fashion now.
There you go. So do you need to water those?
These, no, they're fake.
Okay. They're fake succulents. Okay.
They're fake. Yeah, a lot of people think that they're real because they do look real. They do look real. If you aren't really looking close to it, you can see it's fake.
See, and that's the type of plant that I need
There you
because I'm known for just it being a plant killer.
Okay.
This gourd here, what can you tell me about this?
Well, that gourd, in order to do a gourd, in order to have, like say a lesson on a gourd, I have to have a Dremel, I have to have a wood burning tool, I have to have saws, I have to have all the ink dyes. Those are ink dyes. It's not paint, like acrylic paint, it's an ink dye. It soaks into the gourd. When I first started doing gourds, they didn't have ink dye. We had to use shoe leather paste on the gourds, which gave it a nice shine, but we found that after a few years it faded.
Okay.
So now with the ink dyes, it sucks itself into the gourd and it just gives a beautiful finish. There's a gold foil on the top,
Okay.
and I've cleaned it out, and I cut it with a Dremel tool to make those little holes. And it's all wood burned, and the little raised part of the inside,
Right.
it's called epoxy sculpt. Epoxy sculpt is this two-part, like if you have epoxy glue, you have two parts to it.
Right.
Well, this is paste with two parts. You mush it together, roll it up, and you put it on there, and it's hard as a rock.
Wow.
It's a clay. It's a clay. And then I dotted it with little
Yeah.
scripts.
I don't know if we can get a close-up of this, but even from here, you can see all the cutouts,
Mm-hmm.
and then the details on the flowers, and the leaves are sort of an iridescent green.
I used 3 different colors of green, 2 green and 1 gold. And I tipped the leaves on the top, like if you were to look at a tree, the light is always on the top, and inside is a little deeper, and that's what I tried to do there.
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing, and the colors are wonderful. And you know, just as I turn it around, this part here is just so delicate with the little trunk or branch of the flower.
Yeah.
Just absolutely amazing.
I named
And then, like you say, this
gold foil.
gold foil here
Yeah.
is just,
Yeah.
you know, it's wonderful to look at. When you make something like this, how much time goes into it?
Oh my goodness. It's hard to say. I like to start a project and kind of finish it within the same time frame. Like if I started that yesterday and I went away for 3 or 4 days and I was to come back to that, it wouldn't be the same feel for me. And I would make mistakes. So I kind of like to have to do it like days, and just keep working at it instead of
Okay.
going away and leaving it and coming back, because my touch is different.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you know, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So this one here, this is just another amazing piece of work. What type of gourd is this?
It's just a giant gourd.
Just a giant gourd.
Yep.
And you have, this is the way I want to turn it. Is the swirls in here, are those cut out?
So what that is, I start with a Dremel. I have a bit on my Dremel, and I
Okay.
start carving. First, I trace it out, and then I follow the pencil lines. I trace it out, I start carving it and carving it and carving it all the way around, and then it's raw. I go right into the inside skin of the gourd. You can see that. The skin is all gone.
Okay.
And then by hand, I have files. I file it until it's smooth. It's got to be very smooth.
Yeah.
And then I take very smooth sandpaper and smooth it down even more.
Wow.
So it's a lot of work to do this.
And again, the stripes over here have like an iridescent quality to them.
It's the paint.
It's
Yeah.
the paint. And
Yeah.
then, is that more gold foil?
The gold foil is on it, yep. Yep.
And then the flower on the front. And the texture of this
Stippling.
green around it.
That's called stippling.
Okay.
And there again, on my Dremel, I have a little teeny bit, and I just go
Okay.
forever. Forever. Those little holes go on forever. And then I paint it.
Okay. Yeah. And if people are watching this and saying, I really need that gourd
that's
in my
right.
home, how would they find you?
They can contact me through www.facebook.com/Carefree Gourd Gallery
Okay.
or Ceil Rossi, and they can call me as well.
And that's Ceil?
Ceilrossi. And I'm on, I have my own Facebook page.
Okay.
So you just Google my name, I'll pop right up.
There you go. I was looking at your Facebook page, and one of the things you had posted, it was a guitar that your brother made
Yes,
from a Gourd.
yes. 2 or 3 years ago, I gave my brother a very large gourd. It was about this big, but it was in a beautiful shape, something similar to this, but much larger. And I challenged him. I said, you know, Ron, you're a guitar maker. Can you make me a gourd-tar? So he did. He lives in Lyndonville, Vermont, and he lives in this old, quaint basement kind of thing of a farmhouse, you know, where they had the granite rocks for building. So I gave him this gourd, and he cut it in half, and he made a magnificent guitar out of it. It's on my webpage. I'm on Facebook page.
Yeah, and you were telling me that it's a playable guitar.
It's very playable. Yep, yep. He inserted on the handle that you, whatever
Yeah,
that.
on the neck.
The neck of the gourd, the neck of the guitar, ivory in it, right behind the strings. I'm not a guitar maker. I have no idea what all the lingo is,
Yeah.
but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it looked wonderful, and I was thinking, I would love to get my hands on that and see what it sounds like.
Oh, I would love to bring it to you, and you could
Yeah,
try it out.
yeah. So, if people were interested in doing gourd work,
Yep.
you give
I
lessons.
teach. I do at my
Okay.
home. Yep. At my home in Agawam, I have my studio is set up in my garage where I can make a mess, but then I have to clean it up. It's fun. It really is. To go back to what a gourd is, if you think about it, the ancient people, if they had seeds, or if they had honey, or if they had rat meat, what did they keep that in? Baskets were not invented at that time, so along comes the gourd. Now we're talking 10,000 years ago. People were alive. They had to eat. They had to carry water. There's a water gourd right there, the big one. Scoop it out, put your water in it, carry it to your cave. The same thing if you had, like as I just said, honey, or, you know, they used to also keep bees in the gourd.
Okay.
You know, honeybees, probably something similar to this. That's a warty gourd, but so gourds are very, very useful. And today, a quick story. I was in Puerto Vallarta maybe 15 years ago with my husband. And I was standing on the corner and I was watching people go by, and this old gentleman was standing at the bus stop, and he had a gourd. It had to be that big. It was like, I don't know what shape you call it, something similar to this with a bigger top. And it was strapped to his back, and I looked at it, and it had a spigot coming out of the side. So obviously he was either coming or going to the field, and it had water in it. But we were in tequila country.
There you go.
In Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah. So, you know, I really, you know, when our friend Linda Barnes first mentioned you and said, you know, you're a gourd carver, I thought,
What's a gourd carver?
you know, what's that? But I think this is actually the piece that I saw that really blew me away.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really am just, you know, this reminds me a little bit of Oriental pottery.
This is called Nature's Pottery.
Okay.
Nature's Pottery. The name of that piece is Ramblin' Rose.
Rambling Rose, I like that.
Yep. They all have names.
Okay, and this is
That is the lily pad.
the lily pad. Okay.
Yep.
And I that quickly forgot his name.
Night Watcher.
Night Watcher. Okay.
Night Watcher.
Well, Ceil, this has been wonderful.
Well, thank you for having me.
And is your work on display anywhere?
I do Munson a lot. The Munson art,
Okay.
Munson House of Art. I do that. That was on display there. I just had this one in Ware here in the Artworks
Okay.
show. I have 2 galleries in Essex, Connecticut, and I was doing Farmington, Connecticut. I was in a gallery there. Unfortunately, not because of the pandemic. A lot of them have closed, and they only open certain hours, so, you know,
Right,
but my work is still there. So I'm looking for more galleries to
Yeah.
put my work in.
And I think I saw also you have some smaller gourds that almost look like they could be Christmas tree ornaments.
I do. I have one with me, but I didn't take it out. They're little teeny ones, yes. They are
Okay.
tree ornaments, yes. Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Well, I thank you so much for coming out.
Well, thank you for
and,
having
and
me.
sharing this beautiful work with us. And, you know, as you pack up, watch me to make sure that I don't forget
That doesn't
to
go
leave
away.
that one out.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gary.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in. And I want to thank you all for tuning in again. And I'll see you next time on Creative Connections. From the inner sense of time comes the ancient poet's rhyme, bringing us the master key to open up the mystery. From the depth of time and space, we arrive in quiet grace, finding what is meant to be as we explore the mystery, pouring forth from days gone by. We can hear the poet sigh from the depth of ecstasy, moving into mystery.